Hello. So welcome to today's flag, and it's a really, really important one. And again, with all the flags that I talk about in this series, they are flags that I've come up with from working with clients, from sharing, people in my groups sharing with me. So they're all very, very real. These are happening with people out there every single day, every single minute of every single day of the week. So flag number 15 is you had an abusive childhood, or you have narcissistic parents or a parent. Now, in the same way that I said being an empath or an HSP makes you a red flag, so does this one. This one, more than any other, makes you a highly vulnerable target for narcissists, because they not only know how to find your weak spots, they know how to exploit them. So keep in mind what I said in red flag number 6, that they may already know, having gleaned, the information from your unsuspecting friends, that you've had a hard life or that you have dysfunctional parents. Now, if you've been unfortunate enough to have narcissistic parents or a parent, this massively predisposes you to attracting more narcissists later in your life. And you'll attract partner after partner, spouse after spouse. One client of mine is actually in the process of divorcing her 4th narcissist. By this point, you will be emotionally wrung out, depressed, confused, and you won't understand why this keeps happening to you. And it's a question I get asked all the time. It's one of the most frequent. What's wrong with me? Why do I keep attracting toxic people? And the answer is there's actually a very valid reason why it happens. Now, children learn from their parents. So when you're constantly being invalidated, mistreated, and you don't have your emotional needs met, your normal childhood development process is thwarted. So you develop your own representation of normal based on constantly trying to behave in a way that pleases your narcissistic parent. But no matter what you do, you can never get it right. And the nature of a narcissist is such that they don't want you to. They want to keep finding reasons to criticize and chastise you. And they don't love and praise the milestones you reach at school. They don't allow you to express yourself or think for yourself or have your own opinions or feelings. So growing up in this kind of abusive environment teaches a child that they don't matter, and that they only exist as an extension of their parent. Now, if you've been brought up in a toxic trio situation of domestic abuse, mental ill health, and substance misuse like alcohol or drugs, you're actually at significant risk. According to the NSPCC Domestic Abuse Facts and Statistics, and that's a UK organisation, a report they did in June 2017, around 1 in 5 children have been exposed to domestic abuse, and they're more likely to have behavioural and emotional problems. So for such children, growing into healthy individuals with solid self-esteem is not something that's easily accomplished. So children in abusive situations constantly try to think ahead, to behave in a way which will cause less friction. And this is what leads to them becoming people pleasers. So in some cases, they can go the other way and they become totally rebellious and start acting out and getting into drugs and alcohol, or engaging in other risky behavior. Could be sexually risky, it could be criminal, and many of them often get married to escape this domestic violence or this toxic household, only to find themselves in exactly the same, and mostly it's worse, the same type of abusive situation with their new spouse. So what happens here, put very simply, is when you've been shaped by observing dysfunctional parents, you consider this normal and your behavior is based on what you've learned watching them. So in cases where, let's say your father was abusive and your mother was submissive and abused herself, you'll learn that women can't or don't stand up for themselves. So how can you possibly grow up to know what a healthy relationship looks like when you've had role models who were just totally screwed up themselves? Now, often you wouldn't have even realized that you were in an abusive relationship until you were much older. You could have been anywhere from, in your 20s to your 60s before the penny finally dropped and you realized that you were never the problem, that all of your problems now are due to having had an NPD, narcissistic personality disordered mother or father. Now, it's bad enough to have any narcissist in your life, but having, for example, a narcissistic mother is probably the toughest of all for a woman. And why? Typically because mothers are supposed to be loving and caring and nurturing and protective and supportive, all those things that your narc mother wasn't. And that loving mother-daughter bond just wasn't there. And this creates a huge deficit of self-love in you. The one person in the world who's supposed to love and protect you didn't. And this also applies to guys, guys who've had narcissistic mothers. They suffer exactly the same, sense of loss and hurt and invalidation, all of it. So having a narc mother is the pits, frankly. Having a narcissistic father is equally damaging for the same types of reasons. These people who are supposed to be your staunch defenders, people who are supposed to take a bullet for you, just aren't there for you. They're there just to use you. So it's a very, very complicated, toxic environment to grow up with, and it absolutely sets you up for more abuse later on. Now, in these cases, let's say that if the father is there, and even if he's trying to be like a good guy to you, he's a nice guy, he's not abusive and cruel, his influence on your emotional well-being would still actually be negligible. And that's because negative input into our mind is much more powerful than positive in such situations. So your father's attempt to be kind and supportive would not have negated your mother's constant barrage of negativity. Now, you can also feel a deep sense of betrayal because your father failed to protect you. And in the cases where there is this very domineering narcissistic mother, the father, if he's not abusive, is very often weak himself or has been weakened by this strong, abusive, narcissistic wife that he has. And he will subsequently lack, the character and the mettle necessary to stand up to this abusive wife. And obviously, in his own way, he's also a victim. So neither parent provides a healthy role model for the child. So when you were growing up, your emotional needs were never met. But on top of that, you may also have been, very likely, you got used to hearing horrendously hurtful words from your mother. And just some examples that I've had shared with me, things that mothers have said to their children. I wish you'd never been born. Having you ruined my figure. You're just a burden to me. And another one, you spoiled my chances of blah, blah, it could be a fabulous career or whatever. So just consider the impact of such words on a child. And imagine saying those kinds of things to a child that some child that's in your world. If it's not your own, maybe it's, someone in your family or a friend. Imagine saying those types of things to that child. Imagine saying them even to an adult. How would that make anyone feel? So if your mother or father treated you like this, they probably also ruined every single special event that you ever had in your life and made everything in life about them. And you would have felt like a burden for just being alive. You could have been the mini slave running and fetching and carrying and doing stuff at their behest, taking care of them when they should have been taking care of you. And all of their problems would have been your fault. And they would communicate in their actions that you were to blame for everything. So, assuming that you've grown up in this kind of a toxic childhood, your worldview will be very different from someone who's grown up in a more normal household. You've been denied the all-important bonding and love and support that is every child's right. And it's one of the reasons that I use inner child healing as part of all my therapy that I do with my clients, because it's incredibly powerful and it's so desperately needed. Everyone I've worked with has a hidden inner child who's still really, really hurting. No matter where they are consciously in life or how together they might think they are, they have this inner hurting child. And it's really important to work to heal that inner child. Now, when you become involved with a narcissist, they are adept at finding those wounds and brainwashing you using a variety of techniques, that I talk about in my book and that I'll talk about in some of these videos because I'm covering the whole 50 red flags. But most importantly, they erode your sense of self so systematically over time that you forget who you really are. And all those deep-seated doubts about your own self-worth just get played on and you're reminded of your own worthlessness. You always bring it back to you, to your perceived inadequacies. But the truth is, it's not you, it's not your fault, it's them twisting your reality, just as your parents created a warped reality for you in the first place. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, if you had a very loving, happy childhood, you could have grown up just trusting everyone because you believe that the world is a reflection of what you know and that all people are good. Again, I've had lots of clients who've, fit in this camp. And, they've had no experience of toxic, evil people. So, you don't even know that such people exist in the real world. So being open and trusting can also make you very easy prey for a narcissist. Your worldly naivety, for want of a better word, actually makes you very vulnerable. So coming back to the red flag, although it's all about this red flag, having grown up in this toxic environment for whatever reason, believing you don't matter and you are worthless, you're desperately seeking love because deep down, your inner child is craving the love it never got. And this is a need that you are not even aware of. But the romantic predator, the narcissist, can sense it. So if you take that and combine it with very likely with your empathetic nature, your learned codependency, and inability to love and validate yourself, then you put all these together and you have a very, very potent cocktail and you become the perfect target for a narcissist. Now, at a subconscious level, there's also a familiarity about this type of controlling person that causes you to gravitate to them. Because subconsciously, it's stuff you recognize, it's behavior you recognize. And, it's a very complicated dynamic. You may not even, very often don't realize that it's happening. It's very complicated stuff. So what can you do if you've been raised by a narcissistic parent? And one of the important things is to know thyself. Know thyself. You need to know your weaknesses and start working on healing and understanding yourself. Now, this is by no means a 5-minute fix, because healing yourself at a deep level, it takes time. It takes self-reflection, introspection, self-analysis, courage, and willing to face your painful past. And ultimately, you also absolutely have to have a powerful desire to truly heal and recover. But that's all very deep, complicated, I know. But for now, understanding yourself, understanding and loving yourself, first and foremost, is where you need to focus. And again, this ties in with the inner child healing. It's where the love is. All the love you could possibly ever want or need is hiding inside you. It's where healing truly begins. You just need to realize it. And when you do, the floodgates will open for you. I've seen it happen time and time again with my clients. You become that bird who flies free of the cage at last, free and flying into the light. That's why I use that bird flying out of the cage for my logo. Now, I also always recommend, if you've had this kind of a toxic background, or really in any case, if you've gotten involved with a narcissist and your world has been shredded to pieces, I would definitely recommend getting a therapist. Obviously I would, because I'm a therapist myself, but seriously, one of the best investments you can ever make in yourself is to find a good therapist who understands NPD and abuse. A good therapist can help you to sort through the emotional quagmire much faster than if you try to go it alone. But in the meantime, learn all the flags in the book, and if you keep them in your mind, you'll be well armed against any future narc attack that might come your way. So please keep coming back and checking in with me, because I think tomorrow it's red flag number 16, and I have to get to 50. So as you can see, this is a big subject. There are a lot of flags, so I've got a lot more important information to share with you. So please come back again soon. Just a quick reminder, I'm posting Monday, Wednesday and Friday every week until I have all these out there and you have access to them. So thank you very much again, and I will see you soon. Bye for now. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found that flag useful to know about. So my name's Maria McMahon. I'm a clinical NLP hypnotherapist, and I help women and men who are trying to overcome narcissistic abuse. I have 2 Facebook groups. One is for guys, it's private group, guys only. One is for women, also private group, women only. So what I'll do is I'll put a link below the video, some links about how you'd like, if you wanted to connect with me, how you'll be able to connect with me. I'll also put a link to the book, which is currently on Amazon for just 99 cents, so it's pretty cheap. Now, if you found this video helpful, please like and comment and subscribe, and come back soon for more red flags, because every Monday, Wednesday and Thursday I'll be posting until I get through all the 50. Okay, so thank you very much again, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.